Hello, Mark Larson here for the Dream Catcher podcast. Thanks for joining me today. This episode is titled Reflections, and I came up with it because in just a little over a month, it's going to be my 4 year anniversary of starting this podcast, and the 250th episode is coming up on January 6th of this coming year, and just been reflecting back to the journey of how I got started doing the podcasting and how I was like most people that I come across that are wanting to do something like podcasting or whatever else it is. A lot of times it's their dream. And but to begin with, I when I had my coach Crystal suggested approximately 4 years ago, right now, that I maybe start doing a podcast. I thought nobody wants to listen to me. I mean, what do I have to offer the world? And and I'm glad that Krista convinced me to start the podcast because I didn't think I had anything to offer. I didn't think that I could do it. When I was younger, as I've said many times on this podcast, I was very quiet and I didn't think I could even use my voice really to make a difference in the world. But now, almost 4 years later, I'm definitely making a difference and talking a lot, meeting people every day that will be getting to be guests on the podcast. But it's interesting because I've had so many people that are thinking about doing a podcast, and and I'm having some wine. So this is left over from our Christmas yesterday, and so yeah, having some Malbec from Argentina, which is a very good wine if you like dry reds. But but yeah, so she convinced me, but I even at the very beginning, the first 10 episodes, I thought this is not for me. And now I'm glad, almost 250 episodes later, that she convinced me. But most people don't think that they do have anything to offer. Whether it's podcasting, because there's a lot of people I talk to that want to start podcasts, but they don't know how to start, and they don't know, maybe they're too old. It's going to take too much money. It's going to take too much time. They got all these other things going on in life. When in reality, it really doesn't take that much time to do an episode. I did one this morning and I've changed my mind. This is another recording in the evening, which this will be dropping tomorrow morning at 5:55 a.m. Central Standard Time. It, 55 in the morning. I should say that. So, but people like anything, I guess it's the unknown of starting something that it's going to be difficult when in reality it's not, it's really not. And I was just part of a group on Facebook where these people were all starting their or wanting to start podcasts and they were all like, how are you going to make money? How are you going to how are you going to start with what you have for recording equipment? What recording equipment you need? I mean, so many questions that really in the long run aren't irrelevant as long as you start. And I always say start and then build from there because you know more what you need after you get started. And you can start with a mic there's not really any mic that's not adequate to start with, and you can move on up to, I have still a Blue Yeti I'm using right now. There's sure, there's a lot of awesome um, podcast equipment out there. But these people were all just asked these questions and they were keeping themselves in a loop from really getting started, and I can understand wanting to know all the answers before you start, but that's not possible. You only get the answers when you start. And I think that keeps people stuck from getting their dreams because they just stay in the loop of what they need to get to before they start. And in reality, you need to go the other way. You just start and wing it basically. And yeah, and I have found that in reflection of my own journey and others, that it keeps people on whatever the dream is a lot of times from going after it because they don't have all the answers. They want to have all the answers, and I 100% agree, understand that, but it's not possible. And the path becomes clear once you start, and it does become clear. But the thing is, there's people like myself and others out there that will help you see the path more easily. In this area, I'm starting people with all podcasts from all over the place, and I'm all I think everybody should have a podcast because the equipment is very reasonable. The software, I mean, is very. I mean, this is Riverside. Riverside is. I just went to their pro and it's like $29 a month, and that isn't. I mean, you get a lot for that AI. I mean, it's amazing what you get for 29 bucks a month. And then intro and outro I had done on Fiverr. And there's a lot of good people working on Fiverr, so that was very reasonable. And then for the the distribution. I use Buzzsprout, and Buzzsprout I think is $19 an hour, or $19 an hour, $19. It might be more than that, but I think it's approximately that per month to distribute to approximately like 18 places like Spotify, Apple Music, all the traditional ones. And then from Riverside, I basically put the video, the podcast up to my YouTube channel, and that is actually which interestingly is where most people are watching, listening to the podcast, and but it's such a journey that I've learned so much doing this that it would have been I would have had no clue on where to start learning what I have learned, and I think in life, that is where we need to go. If you want to start a business, if you want to, whatever your dream is, if you want to paint, if you want to, there's so many things, but you can worry yourself to death trying to get all the questions answered before you start. But in reality, you're not going to get what the real answers will show themselves. You just it might be easier. It might, setting it up was actually very easy. I had the lady on Fiverr. She had it done, like, intro and outro done in like a half hour, and right now I can actually take it from this recording to having it up to ready to be dropped in probably half hour. It's very, very quick. It is. They've made podcasting very simple for everybody to do it. And it's such a way to get your voice out to the world because I mean, this podcast I've then had guests from all over the world, and made friends from people all over the world, and it's people I wouldn't have had anything to do with, never known if they exist in this world if I hadn't started this podcast. And I think that also goes for other things that you want to do. You just got to start, and you got to make sure that you believe what you have to offer the world. The world's waiting for, and you know what? It is. You know, there's always somebody out there. Your audience, your vibe attracts your tribe. Same way with the podcast. You will attract your audience. And I have found very much that the less polished, the more real the podcast is, the more people resonate with it. Because the ones that are polished, at first, when I started doing this, I had questions and everything. People said it sounded insincere, and in a reality, it kind of was, but it wasn't. But it was. That's what people said. So that's when I started just basically doing like I'm doing right now, just kind of just coming off the cuff, and it's a challenge to actually doing a conversation like I'm doing right now, but it gets easier the more you do it. And the hardest part, I think, is trying to come up with a topic I'm going to do for the podcast. Um, but there's so many places for topics. You just go with one, and it's kind of like doing maybe a debate. You get a topic, and you have to talk on for so long. It probably is similar to that. So, and but this podcasting has gotten me, 250th episode. People around the world being friends with me and then supporting me. Possibly maybe a speaking engagement at a university next month in front of a leadership group. Uh, it's just once you get the ball going, it just the right people, right things come into place, and I think that's what people are afraid to start because of the unknown, and they don't think they have anything to offer, and you do, you just do, and it's just like just start, get that podcasting mic, get all that stuff set up. If you don't have anybody to do it, there's plenty of YouTube videos to show you how to start podcasting, and and that was another thing with this group. It was all about the monetary gain from doing podcasting. And yes, speaking, podcasting eventually can be, great. But it doesn't, like anything. People want to get money right away, and most businesses don't turn a profit. Some businesses never turn a profit. Speaking actually is, at least in public speaking, is one of the highest paid professions in the world. And so, yeah, use your voice, motivate and inspire. Just make a difference, and that if you make a difference in people's lives, they will follow you. You will become a leader in that area where you started, because you started. Most people don't start. Most people have the best intentions of starting, but they always said, "Well, I don't have the time right now. When the kids get growing, and then the grandkids come, and then oh, we don't have enough money because we're gonna have to save for retirement." And by the time you get done with that, you're at the end of your life and you've never done anything. You just have to do it. You have to do it now, and no, non-negotiable. You just do it because when you do it, then you at least get started. And that I like I said, sometimes the first step is the most difficult. Pretty much is, and but if you don't start, you'll have all excuses your whole life. And then it's a rare person that starts because they've had, the kids are coming over, or I've got to take something to whatever this meeting, um, and then you're stuck in something you probably don't want to do. And I still in this day and age, I see so many young kids that are following the dollars rather than what their God given gift, to change the world. Because we're all given a gift, but we always look at the dollar amount, which by design they want you to do that because they want to keep you stuck. They want to keep you under their thumb. Because if you're always chasing the dollar, you kind of get into that trap, and then you almost have to stay. It's harder to get out. Um, but I just see people that are so talented and they get rid of their talent and do something that they hate just to get the money. And that's not a life well lived. And that's not a best life. That's a mediocre life. And that's a sad life because if God put you here, He gave you dreams and He gave you the opportunity and ability to have those dreams come true. So don't fall for that. And it's sad because chasing the almighty dollar is a very it's what's wrong with most of the people in the United States because they're always chasing the dollar. And granted, it's very expensive and people have to, but there's still opportunities to do something like this on the side to potentially get you out from underneath that. Get you out from underneath that. It's just, but most people don't because they're tired, and I can very much understand that. They're trying to get the bills paid, they're trying to get this done, the kid's sick. Life happens, and life does happen. But there's a point where you have to say, yeah, life's happening, but I'm still doing this. And you just have to, like I said, non-negotiable. It's kind of like going to the gym. It's kind of like doing anything that's worthwhile. It's effort, and it's for one thing, when it's effort, the struggle, the trials and tribulations, actually turn you into the person that's able to do that dream, live that dream. Because some of the stuff you wouldn't be able to because you don't have the wherewithal to live that dream. So the trials and tribulations build you into the person that is more likely able to. So yeah, it's just I'm reflecting. It's just so many people are still stuck in the go to school and all that stuff and go after the dollar. And I couldn't believe how many people in this podcast group that were just going to do podcasting to make money. And little do they know, it might be a long way. So, but you just do it. And like God has told me, do make a difference in the world, and the money's secondary. The money comes. And, but so many people have it the other way. They want the money first, and then and it's like, more than likely, it's not going to happen that way. Not the majority of the people. So, and people are probably going to say, well, then why should I do it? It's like, why should you continue to work for somebody for 40 years and then retire and then die? And you haven't lived into your dreams. You haven't done all those trips. You haven't done all those things you wanted to do. You haven't painted. Maybe you hadn't wanted to do painting. Maybe you wanted to, start a business, whatever it is. You have to do that first. It just has to be there. It's just like, no, because there's days where I don't want to go and do the gym. And I do love the gym, but the younger me wouldn't have. But I do. I love the people at the Y, and it's just I'm keeping my weight where I'm supposed to be, and I'm still, especially after yesterday, got a ways to go back on that because I'm sure I went backwards on that. But and some people would just give up. It's like, well, I gained the weight, I might as well just quit. It's like, no, you jump back on the horse as this thing is, and you get back to doing the way you're supposed to eat. And that's one thing in this country, we eat way too many carbs. It's just like because Cheryl and I don't. We have lots of greens and berries and all that stuff, and we don't do much for juices, and we do the way that we need to eat to be healthy, or potentially healthy, because there's no guarantees on anything. But and it's so easy to just pop something in the microwave, and that's something Cheryl and I don't use or do anymore either. We do not use microwaves. Our microwave has been busted for a couple years, and we use the fan that's over the stove for cooking. But there's too many things that have proven that the microwave is not a good way to cook your food. And there's just a lot of things that we don't. And we use better water. Um, because our water actually is a blessing because it's very good water here where we're at. Well, our well water. But if I was on a city's water system with fluoride, fluoride and chlorine and all this other stuff that they got in water, I would have to do something different because I wouldn't drink that water. And especially the fluoride in it, and chlorine too. Some of that I don't think there's a lot of chlorine. It's just like that is one thing about the Y, and any place that has chlorine pools, I think that's really really bad for you. I know what it does to show my skin. And at times I wish I had a saltwater pool, because I think in the long run that's the better way, but they're few and far between. So, but this is your health, and you need to take care of it. And yeah, it's easy to something in the microwave or scarf down a bag of chips or something like that. But in the long run, you're costing yourself time because you're gonna have to deal with the consequences of that. Um, so yeah, it just there's so many things to reflect on that we used to think nothing of, but now it's just like you're responsible for this life of yours, and you're responsible to take action. And God didn't put you here to go to school, work, die. He put you here to make a difference, and we all have the ability to do that. Sometimes it's easy to say hello to somebody that's needing, just saying hello can make a difference in a person's day. And but yeah, reflecting back, it's just start. Just start whatever you want to do, like the podcast, whatever your thing is, starting a business. Yeah, it's going to be scary. It's going to be very scary, but it's what's more scary is you continuing on with the jobs and the stuff that you dislike, and getting to the end of your life and not having done anything except for work, and that's not a life well lived. So on that, I'm gonna have some more of my wine. Enjoy this evening, and but yeah, just start. And if that's one thing I always tell people to reach out if they have some ideas about and they want to start a podcast. I'm more than willing to give guidance. I don't. I've had people want me to do their podcast, and it's like I won't. I'm not doing that, but I do give guidance because anybody I can get started with a podcast is a plus to the world, and that's what I'm here for. So so yeah, reach out. Also reach out if you have any other ideas or suggestions or anything about this podcast, and how you would do it different or how you liked it, or whatever it is. I always am looking for direction on that, and I appreciate you listening. And on that, I'm going to let you go, and thank you for joining me on this episode of the Dreamcatcher podcast. Until next time, take care.